talent.
Yes. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Robert.
Okay.
All right. Are you all set? Anything else you may need?
No, I think we have it.
I
Thank
think
you.
we're good, Pablo. Thank you so much.
Good luck with the workout rooms. Okay, breakout. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night, Pablo.
We'll wait a second more, about another minute to let people come in. We're still admitting.
Hi.
Okay, this isn't working. Okay. Okay. Ramdad, are you ready to begin?
I am. Are you?
Okay,
Do you have quorum?
Allow me to recognize a quorum of our community board members of ENS.
And there is a quorum for Parks and Recreation Committee as well. All right.
And I think you go first on all the actions, Ramdad.
Yes. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the last joint meeting of Parks and Rec and Environment and Sanitation for this year. The first item on the agenda is the introduction of guests and members. So my name is Ramdat Singh. I am the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
Robert Fanuzzi, I am the outgoing chair of the Environment and Sanitation Committee. Is there anyone here representing a city agency or an elected official? Or an engineering firm, anyone doing business with the city of New York or pursuant to this project that
Well, I'm just on the call. This is Joe Magneri from the Parks Department. I'm on the call for the Parks Committee.
Okay. As a member of the Parks Committee?
Parks Department.
Okay. All right.
And Stephanie is on here as well.
Hi.
Hey, Stephanie. Hey. Mr. Nash, I see you have at nyc.gov. Are you representing the Parks Department today?
Yes, me and Samir Roy.
Okay. Hi, Samir. Okay. Can I ask what your office is, just out of curiosity?
Excuse me?
What office in the Parks Department are you part
of? Bronx Design Capital.
Oh, excellent. Really good to hear. Great. Great to have you. That's good. So, Ramdad, it looks like I am here to approve the minutes of the May 25th meeting. Those have been distributed. All those in favor of approving the minutes of from the Environment and Sanitation Committee of May 25th.
I second it and approve it.
Thank you. Ramdad, do you want to go ahead and do the same? We took a vote. It's all those in favor. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank
so from Parks and Recreation Committee, any motions to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Deb. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Amazing. Great. The minutes were approved. And next is our chair's reports. I'm going to keep mine very short. So the first item was, there was the UN Park presentation earlier this month, which I attended. I sent along the presentation to the committee members, and also the board office is putting the presentation on our website as well. Graffiti, if there's any graffiti, please put in a 301 ticket and email us the ticket number so we can follow up. Summer's here. There is going to be a lot of illegal barbecuing, excessive noise. If if the noise is bothering you, or, you know, so on and so forth, please put a complaint in and law enforcement will take care of it. The board office will also follow up and make sure that there is some enforcement especially in Van Cortlandt Park. And I'm working with Parks Department to schedule a walkthrough of Seton Park for the pickleball courts. I have a call with Mike tomorrow actually for that. And last but not least, it's been an honor to serve as your Parks and Recreation Chair. And I do wish the next chair much success as well. And I'll pass it on to Bob Fanuzzi.
Thank you. DEP has announced a road closure to clean the outfall along the major Deegan at West 230th Street from West 230th to West Fordham Road, including the entrance ramp. It will be closed on June 15th and June 16th from 11 o'clock in the evening until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Bob, also June 22nd and 23rd tonight.
Okay.
You said 15th and 16th, which was?
Oh my God, yeah, passed. Okay. Thank you. Con Ed is doing road work that will interrupt life on West 235th Street and Oxford Ave. This will be from now, and it will be all day. It will involve street closures, limited street parking, temporary sidewalk closures, temporary bike lane, noise, and outage. So call the community board for more info on that. And then finally, the governor has announced a total of $567 million now available to help low-income electric and gas utility customers pay off past utility bills. And this was done with cooperation of the Public Service Commission, and it is designed to benefit low-income customers in the state of New York. So please call the community board office if you would like to take advantage of that. This is also goodbye for me. This is my last committee meeting as chair of this Environment Sanitation Committee of Bronx Community Board 8, and it has been an honor to serve. I've done 2 tours. This is my second. And I really feel the ENS committee has been in the middle of some momentous battles over the years before I came on, and especially since I've been vice chair and chair. What I'm really most proud of is what we're about to do tonight, which is take a first formal step towards engaging the design process and capital and construction process for a life-changing project that's going on in our district. It is the construction of the Putnam Greenway and the daylighting of Tibbetts Brook. Our business today is to adopt a resolution on the Public Design Commission submission that's going before the Public Design Commission as of July 11th, mid-July. But for me, this represents a generational effort on the part of Bronx Community Board 8 and local environmentalists to bring not only a greenway, but a natural resource, the addition of a natural resource in the form of a stream and a greenway to our district. It is really life-changing, and hopefully it'll set the tone for many more changes that are about to come towards sustainability and resilience in the city of New York. Ramdot, that concludes the announcements from the chairs, and I thought that we could just share a screen at this point and get right to the business we're about to do now.
Bob, can I ask a question?
Who's raising their hand? This is
It's Dan.
David. I'm
Oh,
on
wait, David.
David. I'm on the phone. sorry, on my telephone, very quickly. The Con Ed activity at 236 in Oxford, do you happen to know if it has anything to do with the project that we're monitoring on Riverdale Avenue at 3745? Because the back entrance to it is Oxford, just above 236.
Let me look into that. All I got was the announcement. That's a good question. Thank
Okay.
you. Let me look into that.
Okay. Very good. Thank you very
And-
much.
Thanks.
Bob, Dan's hand is also up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dan?
Hi, Ramda and Bob. Just a point of information. You said this was going to be at the July 11th PDC. Has the package been submitted to PDC?
As of the middle of the month, I think it was June 16th or 17th was their deadline.
So do we have confirmation that it was
do.
submitted by Parks and
No, we don't actually. We don't have confirmation. We have, perhaps the Parks gentleman can, Mr. Nash.
Oh, whoops.
I'm sorry, I wasn't involved in that project, but I can find out for you.
Yeah, well, the schedule was set and I haven't heard anything different. So I think that's right now. Let's assume that it's been submitted. The
So
deadline was June 17th.
it's kind of a threshold question for what we're doing tonight, no?
No, we've been instructed that they are submitting, they are putting it in, and that we is not threshold question because we're going to be submitting this to the public
Well,
design commission.
I say it's a threshold question because if they have not submitted it, there's no purpose to putting
No one
forward a
said they have
resolution.
not submitted it. You asked a question I don't have the answer to. No one has said they have not submitted it.
But again, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, when you look at a land use project, we generally first ask, has this been submitted?
Okay, what would you like to do? What's your suggestion then?
I'm just surprised that we haven't gotten confirmation that it hasn't been submitted.
Stephanie's on the call. There's other people on the call, Bob, besides,
If anyone can confirm that this has been submitted to PDC before the deadline of the June
Mike
15, 16 that
Ortiz
you
is on the
mentioned.
call. I mean, there's people from the Parks Department. all on-
Anyone? Yeah.
I
anyone.
I do not have that confirmation.
Bob, I don't know if you mean to be sharing the screen you're sharing.
I know, sorry, I'm trying to find my, thanks a lot, yeah.
That's
thank
okay.
you.
Sorry, what was the question? Or Stephanie, I probably wouldn't know the answer either, sorry.
Has this been submitted to PDC as planned? I've been dealing with Alicia West. She communicated with me over the weekend that she gave me the title of the submission. And she said they were pressing ahead with their submission for July 11th.
Renata
Uh,
is signing on. Maybe Renata knows.
Uh, all right, Bob Bender.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, isn't what we're doing tonight taking a position on the presentation that has been made to us?
Yeah.
You know, it's my understanding that it is being submitted, of course. I don't know for a fact any more than anybody else does, but we have seen design proposals from DEP and Parks. And my understanding is that what we're doing tonight is making a recommendation based on what we have seen. If it is changed or modified, obviously that would be something that we would need to know, but that's in the resolution, as I understand it, that we will be informed of any changes to the design.
So Bob, it was my understanding what was previously communicated to the public is that this was for the conceptual review of the design, which was presented to the
I'm happy to
meeting that
read
we
from-
had.
I'm happy to read from the representative of DEP who is submitting to PDC, okay? In fact, there are some changes which I didn't get a chance to read to everybody because of this question about their plans. So at the community board, joint community board meeting that we held in May, we were told that the DEP and DPR were presenting to PDC for a preliminary review. That is a second level out of 3. The first level is conceptual, The second level is preliminary. The third level is final. Now, that was in the minutes, as you all read. So I'm going to read what happened after a meeting with Alicia West and the team, with Laura and I. They reached out and wanted to share this information with us that I'm sharing with you now. Based on the feedback we received at the community board meeting, Parks and DEP are going to do a bit more thinking about their design in the CSX corridor where it narrows south of 239th Street. We plan to keep the ball rolling with PDC review, but we will submit for a conceptual level review on July 11th rather than preliminary review. So that is a level down from what was announced. And it's good for us for a lot of reasons, because this is conceptual and not preliminary. There are really no firm decisions being contemplated. PDC is an important stakeholder on city projects, and we want to ensure that we are engaging them early on. PDC conceptual reviews are managed at the committee level, which means there's no vote and they do not take testimony, but they would welcome CB8's resolution, and they will circulate it among the commissioners, which I've already been in touch with the PDC, and they are going to get our resolution at the end of our meeting next week. Preliminary level actions, on the other hand, call for a vote, and if there's public interest in giving testimony relating to the design, PDC would calendar the project for a public hearing to accommodate that. Okay, so they are submitting according to this for a conceptual level review, which is a change from the level that was announced at the previous meeting. And it was really because of our good engagement with the project and our good questions and our intense interest, which is documented here.
So Bob, I'll just, again, I don't want to argue back and forth with it, but I'll guess another basic question, which hasn't been in the media yet. Have they purchased the property?
No. Dan, I have no knowledge of. Yeah.
Again, it's a very important question. And quite frankly, I don't think that they could submit anything to PDC before they actually own it. So
Dan, I can't prevent them from submitting something. So I just don't want them to be in front of PDC without hearing from our board. I mean, that's my interest. If you don't want them to hear, then you don't want the resolution. But I can't.
What I would say is this:
for them. I can't solve that problem.
I'm not asking you to, but I think they're very basic questions for. And again, if somebody wants to come to our board, and again, I'll put it in context of a land use. If somebody comes to our board and says, "We have this project coming, we want you to know about it down the road," giving you this information, it's an original feeder. Fine, that's great. We don't really act on that. And when the application comes to us is when we would take an action generally. I think they're two very basic questions that we need the answers to right away, especially if a resolution is passed this evening, that before it comes to the board,
sure.
And even tomorrow at exec before discussing it, did they purchase the property and did they actually submit anything to PDC? They're two very basic questions that we should have the answers to. Thank you.
Okay. No, I think I haven't shared the screen yet on the resolution that we're going to be discussing today. So,
Bob, a few more participants have their hands up. Do you want to take questions now or after?
I really thought we were going to be looking at the resolution. What are the questions? Rhonda, why don't you handle the questions?
Sure. Rosemary, and then Karen Argenti, and then Bob.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you very much for recognizing me. I just in terms of what Dan raised and Bob Bender talked about, I just want to add my own personal view on this, which I think is important. This vote tonight is not just a resolution on an opinion based on a presentation we got. It is not simply we got a presentation and here are our feelings. This is an official resolution to PDC. It is akin to a ULURP. It's not a ULURP, but it's akin to it, that PDC asks us our opinion. So it's more than just a general kind of resolution. I think it has to be taken very serious. I'm sure we will take it very seriously, but it's not just a resolution based on our opinion of what the last presentation in May or whatever it was. And just I have to add, because I didn't even think about it, Dan said, do we own the property? I don't think PDC has the jurisdiction to even entertain this if it's not city-owned land. But I throw that out for whatever it's worth. Not our problem, but PDC doesn't have the jurisdiction to even entertain this if it's not city-owned land. So I'm done. Thank you, Ron Dodd, for recognizing me. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. All right, Karen Argenti.
Yeah, I know that some people don't think it really matters, but I did hear from both Kristen and Pinoa on Friday that it was submitted on Friday. And I will also just respond that the City Planning Commission and the EULR that was passed by this board on the Putnam Greenway included a piece of land that is not owned by the city of New York. So let's just get on with the resolution, and then you guys can all argue about it later on.
I also cannot tell you how seriously I personally and my committee has taken our job before you tonight. This is akin to a EULR process where we are submitting our considered framework and our position on a public design commission review. I think the content within this resolution speaks for itself about the seriousness with which we take our responsibility. This community board will be well served by the diligence that these committees have put into their submission, their position on the DEP and DPR submission to the Public Design Commission. So I am sharing now, I hope. No, am I sharing?
Not
this
yet.
I am sharing with you now
Yes,
a
you are.
resolution that was worked on by the committees. And at this point, everybody, these are for committee comments, committee member comments. At the end of our discussion, we are going to be taking a vote, and the votes will be from the committees. We will first take comments on the resolution from committee members. So I have already highlighted, this is a copy of the resolution as submitted to the public in a draft. There are several errors in it and changes that I would like to make. In addition to some other writers of this resolution. And at this point, I would like to take this in two parts. First, for us to review any changes we would like to make on the resolution from the first page, starting with whereas and ending in the second be it further resolved, which is the bottom of the page, 1 out of 4. Okay. And I have put in the comments. Okay, a question?
No, I think Bob has an edit.
Okay, so I'm going to go through some of the questions that I have about issues that I would like your advice on. So I asked Alicia West, the DEP representative, the liaison to PDC, for their official title of the submission they have made. And it is the comment on the right. Can everyone see that? It is daylighting of Tibbetts Brook and construction of a greenway between Hester and Piero's Mills Pond, Van Cortlandt Park South, and West 230th Street, Bronx. So that's my first proposal for a revision. Now there's a lot in a name, I have to stress, because within the ULURP itself from the CPC. This is not the title. So I wanted to hear some thoughts on what do we call this thing? Do we call it as the agencies are submitting it? So let me just open that up for to see where design, okay, has a highlight. That is my first question for you.
Bob, is your hand for that point or another one?
Yeah, my hand was for the very first, whereas I'm just seeing the comment that Bob has highlighted for the first time. Whether we use that specific language or the language that is in the second whereas clause, the daylighting of Tibbetts Brook and Putnam South Greenway, you know, I don't have strong feelings one way or the other. If, you know, if this project has a formal name that both DEP and DPR are using, then, you know, I think we ought to use it, especially if that's the title under which it's going to be submitted to the Public Design Commission. But my point was that information belongs in the first whereas clause, not in the second whereas clause.
Yeah, so I had a placeholder there. You were right, Bob. And so I just want some more thoughts. If you want the official title that the agencies are submitting for conformity's sake, we could put that in the first whereas.
Yeah, I think
Again, as I say, I don't care, but if that's the name that the agencies are using when they submit to the PDC, then I think that's what we ought to call it.
Okay.
I agree with Bob Bender as
All
well.
right.
Yeah,
So what
well,
I'm gonna
and also
do,
a quick look on the parks webpage, it's referred to as the Putnam Greenway on the NYC Gov Parks webpage.
so what I would like to do is put a parentheses after this, the way we have for Bronx Community Board 8 and the city agencies, and we'll call it daylighting of Tibbetts Brook / Putnam Greenway. That we can, so that when we refer to the project, we don't have to have this entire reference in the first, that you see in the first comment.
I think that it doesn't describe the project.
I know, it's weird.
I'm just saying it,
It
because
doesn't
it's
match
actually,
the CPC, it does not.
it doesn't describe the project, and because the project is a new park that's being created.
Yeah.
Um,
I know.
Well, no, it's not.
Yeah,
It's
that's
an
what the
extension of Van
CPC
Cortlandt
says.
Park.
No, that's, we have the CPC document. It says there'll be a new park. That's what they're calling it.
Huh.
So I think we have to put, I mean, that's another discussion to have, but I think what we should do is use the PDC title here. And if we need to say something about new versus what actually we're doing, we could put that in one of our comments later on. And I think that could go under a recommendation. Okay.
so where are you
Um,
suggesting to put the title? In the
In the
first one,
first whereas, yeah.
where it says
Their
design?
design, comma, and then I would just copy and
Okay.
paste this. Okay, and I would use
Okay.
capitalizations.
Yeah, I think most people are on board with that.
Okay,
Bob.
all right, thanks. All right, now I'm gonna show the second is this revision. All right, so they made two presentations to the community board. They presented their design. I'm not characterizing it as conceptual, preliminary for the daylighting of Tibbetts Brook and Putnam South Greenway to a joint meeting of Bronx Community Board 8 on December 17, 2001, and presented a subsequent design that will be submitted to the PDC for conceptual review to a joint meeting. So I'd like to replace the paragraph that says whereas with this long paragraph. If you want to make any other changes, then let me know. But I'm just distinguishing between what we saw in May and what they present, what we saw in December. Anybody have any objections to this change?
Karen, is your hand up from before or is that okay? I don't see any objections from committee members.
Okay. Then we will proceed with any other changes from committee members to the first page. Those were my changes that I wanted to make.
Bob Bender.
Yeah, it's the first, therefore be it resolved clause. Is that still on this page or?
Yep.
Okay,
Still the first
Uh,
page, yeah.
right, okay. I don't like the wording of, in that first clause, first therefore be it resolved clause where it says the application to daylight Tibbetts Brook and continue the Putnam's Greenway South. What does that say? In presenting the joint conceptual review?
Something went wrong there. Yeah,
Can we just
Yeah.
say there, that will be presented
sure.
for conceptual review? I think that's better wording. That will be presented for conceptual review.
Thank you. That got really tangled up, Bob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Under the name, I think we wanted to go with just Putnam Greenway, yes, not Putnam Greenway South.
Yep, Putnam
Yeah.
Greenway is what's in the ULURP.
Yep.
No comments. Putnam Greenway South, okay, very good. Okey-doke. Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Deb, you have another point? Or is, oh, okay.
Okay. Rhonda, would you like to entertain comments from outside the committees on our committee's resolution?
Yes, we will now open it up to members of other community board members and the public for comments on the first page of the resolution. All right, Rosemary.
Oh, okay, first of all, this came too late. I didn't have a chance to look at anything, but I just saw that Bob Fanucci changed a paragraph. I didn't have a chance to look at it and understand what that paragraph was. Could I just have a review again of Bob, how you changed that
Yeah,
whereas?
of course, yeah.
Sorry,
That's fine.
Is that the
with me.
first whereas or the second whereas?
I have no idea, whatever he did.
I'm gonna read it to you. So in the community board, so by the way, I sent this to the community board on Monday. We had a federal holiday. Let's see, it was, okay. Be it further resolved, no.
Now,
Therefore,
what was
be
it? What was it
resolved-
originally and what did you change it to?
I'm trying to
That's-
read you the original at this
Thank
moment.
you, thank you.
Therefore,
thank you.
be it resolved, Bronx Community Board 8 supports the concept and goals of the DEP and DPR application to daylight Tibbetts Brook and continue the Putnam Greenway South in presenting the joint conceptual review to the New York City Public Design Commission for comments. And so that it now reads, supports the concept and goals of the DEP and DPR application to daylight Tibbetts Brook and continue the Putnam Greenway. I think we should, that's fine. That will be presented for conceptual review to the New York City Design Commission. It's just for readability. There are some grammatical errors in
All right,
the draft.
Rosemary, another question?
Just so there are no substantive changes, it's only words, right?
Yeah, there was grammar errors. Yeah.
Just
It's
for grammar.
Okay, sorry, all of a sudden the paragraph changed entirely, so, and I didn't catch it. Thank you, thank
Okay.
you. I will say again, I think this came too late and it's far too soon for me to even consider
Okay,
what
well-
is in front of us, but that's my opinion, doesn't matter.
Okay,
Good. Thank
this is
you.
for committee, and then we'll have more time to talk about it at exec and then at full board. So everybody, I just wanted to stress what I tried to build in the be it further resolved. Okay, the purpose of that be it further resolved is to prevent any agency from taking this as a green light for all further reviews, and that this is a stop on any further actions and an invitation for the community board to entertain new resolutions. Okay, so that's the purpose of that. We don't want this to be taken as a green light, like I said. I hope that makes sense to everybody and everyone knows what I was trying to accomplish there.
I
Um,
don't see any other hands, Bob.
And then lastly, because this is such a complex project, we took a page from land use and this, which may,
Ramdat.
excuse me,
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to speak, but please go on. Sorry.
no, Dave, please, I'm
Dave.
sorry you don't have your phone, I mean, your hand, you're on phone today, but please, was there a comment on the be it further result?
David,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I can. Okay. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm at a big disadvantage being on the phone, so I don't have it in front of me. However, I just wanted to point out just during the body of this that during the walkthrough, in a subsequent discussion, and in my discussion with Ramdat a couple of days ago, while I agree with the edits that Bob and Deb brought forward, I do want us to somehow incorporate the notion that somehow this project should keep in mind, if at all possible, going south of 225th Street, working with MTA to, allow us to have, to continue the greenway or the abandoned railroad tracks south of 225.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be out of order.
David,
No,
thank you. No, this
we
is,
do
this
have
is your wish
that.
list. Yeah.
Yeah, we have that on the last page, David.
Okay, so sorry to be out of order then.
No,
I
David,
apologize.
No,
just hold
no,
on. We like this, and we're just gonna go through the list of recommendations now. But
Yes.
we're not gonna take a vote because we're voting on the whole package. I'm not gonna split the vote. But are there any further changes, either grammatical changes or the changes in the comments are ones that I will copy and paste, okay, into the final, and I made some grammatical changes.
I'm
in the
sorry, it's
first
Laura.
before be it resolved.
I just see a little thing, the first whereas.
Yeah.
Can you go down to the first whereas?
I'm sorry, Laura, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
The New York, it should be I think the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, DEP and Department are submitting their joint design. Instead of the joint New York City Department.
Well, this is what they're calling it.
Oh, that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
On
their
the right,
joint
that's
project.
their title for it, so I just
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
inherit their title.
Submitting their design. I see.
That's the title of their design.
Okay, sorry.
It's gonna be one package. It's not two separate packages. One
Perfect.
package.
Perfect.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
seeing no more hands for the first, I think we can move on to the subsequent pages.
Okay, so the key to the subsequent pages are two words which I would like to highlight for you. One of those is priorities. Okay, the second is recommendations. Priorities have to do with what we want done to the existing plan that we saw. Recommendations is what we want them to do in future and what they can do with this application. Okay, with this design. So therefore, we broke it up into two things. Okay, so ENS has a grouping of issues under environmental, water, and watershed management. Okay, and these have been contributed by ENS members as well as myself. And I'm going to be, the yellow is going to be a change in the first group. Okay, so priorities are more based on what's in front of us, what we saw, and recommendation are for future iterations and for possible expansion and impact of the design. Okay, so I'm gonna now go to, if everyone understands the design priorities and the recommendations.
So Bob Finosi, just one clarifying point. This one section is about environment and, and then there is another section about parks and greenways. So I just want to make sure that people understand that. So that way we're not taking recommendations on, parks and the greenway.
Okay.
No, of
So
course.
Roman numeral 1 will just be looking at environmental issues. As soon as we're done with making some text changes, we're going to move on to the priorities for Park and Greenway. Okay, just going in order of the document. Okay, so 3 needs a little text change, so I'm going to expand this. Okay, and this is for basically E&S committee members to read. If you see the yellow highlighted section, the box is the proposed change. Okay, if you just want to read over that, this will be Deb and Rob, and I'll take committee comments first and then open it up to anybody else. On this proposed change. So we're looking at the difference between the yellow box on the left and the comment box on the right. Okay. Are there any questions? Can I adopt this change, committee members?
Yeah, I think it's fine. It seems to just simplify it.
Okay. Now, Deb, I want to say that we've included signage within the park and along the Putnam Trail to talk about wetlands restoration, as well as the nature of Tibbetts Brook coming back into daylight, I think is important. And we put in consultation with local stakeholders, which will include parks advocacy organizations, park support organizations, as well as the Kingsbridge Historical Society, which has been instrumental in this whole thing. And then this I thought was important. Dan Paternak had brought up last time about the manhole, which is going to be above ground. So I wanted to make sure that it had a vegetative screen and historically appropriate facing, because that will be seen. Okay. And we of course included all kinds of permits for wetlands construction, wetlands related construction. This is all within DEC protected areas, I have to stress, Department of Environmental Conservation. Were there any other design priorities environmentally? Okay. For me to ask.
Panozzi, just one, I guess, point. Could we possibly move the create environmental education signage to highlight ecological function to the actual, to Park and Greenway, to Roman numeral 2 instead?
Well, it would most likely be done by, I don't know, DEP and NRG together.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you can repeat it.
And I'm thinking that the Parks Department might not actually add the environmental part of it. The whole idea of the water and, where it's coming and how,
Okay. No, I see why.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
why we
listed there now.
highlighted. There's
Okay.
other place for park signage and parks information, everything about the pond, and there's and as well as the Putnam Trail.
Yes.
The
Mhm.
old the Putnam Railroad, which is, I remember, a priority from Parks. Remember Bob Bender, Parks committees, way back when the advocates, the opponents of the Putnam Greenway wanted to have signage about the railroad. I think there is an opportunity there.
Did we want to include, I'm just like realizing that the Deegan, as it's running parallel to this, has its own MS4, right? That that's not connected. It's not currently going into the daylighting.
We have that down here. Okay. So then,
Yep.
thank you, Deb. So this is a little bit more nuts and bolts with what is happening with design and then recommendations. Now I just
I'm sorry, I have a design question.
Yeah.
Or a comment on the design portion.
Right.
The one thing, and I should say, any signage within the park has to go through DPR. There's a whole process for that. I mean, I'm in total agreement with the idea behind this. I just want to be clear on the fact that when you're within the Parks Department has its own protocols for adding signage in the park. But that's an aside. What I'm more concerned about is the second clause. I'd like to strengthen that, the one that says mitigate areas that are not wide enough for the greenway with cantilevering over the water feature. I'd like to strengthen that in some way to be clear about the fact that throughout the entire length of this greenway and daylighting project, there has to be a pathway that is wide enough for safe use by pedestrians and cyclists. I did not come up with the actual language for that, but I'm just a little bit concerned that, the not wide enough is the term that jumped out at me. And I want to be clear that at all points, however it's done, the greenway has to be wide enough to meet the necessary specifications.
I think that should go in the park section.
Definitely.
This is in the water section.
Yeah.
Okay. As long as it's in there somewhere, Karen and
We-
Bob,
we
that's fine with
definitely-
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
save that for the parks, okay?
Okay, very good.
Family park.
Thank you.
What's in the Putnam?
All right, now let me go on to the recommendations. And as you can see, there's a yellow, it says beyond. And again, I'm going to be proposing this writing here. And I'll just read it so everyone sees. I'm proposing to change B1 with the box on the right. Expand the CSO reduction impact of daylighting Tibbetts Brook, the largest green infrastructure project in NYC. Supplement end of pipe practices, DEP understands this, and design for resilience by seeking ways to clean and capture water at its source. As the first water pollution treatment that is aesthetically beautiful, ecologically productive, and a new addition to our natural resources, daylighting is the first step towards upstream watershed-based stormwater management. Okay, what that means is that daylighting represents an end of pipe or an emission control on how much combined sewer overflow is entering our water. And with consultation with DEP, we would like them to be looking at ways to build and manage water by looking at the larger watershed and the water that enters the groundwater and enters the lake before it enters into this daylighting project. And that will expand the CSO reduction impact. It will make our water cleaner if they adopt a watershed stormwater management plan. That's what we're asking them to do. And the second one is asking them to call it what it is, the Tibbetts Brook watershed, and to plan for all water outfall within a Tibbetts Brook watershed. Okay. Number 3 has to do with storm mitigation. David's on the phone, and I want to thank David for his comment about flood mitigation and the fear of another Ida. This was a huge consideration in my inspection of the design. And then furthermore, in September and November of 2021, the ENS committee held 2 meetings, NTNT committee, sorry, Deb, held joint meetings on the impact of Hurricane Ida. And so we really do feel like this is the opportunity to enhance flood mitigation in and around Bay Cortlandt Park and along the Nature Deacon. My only change there is that I'm now titling this Mayor Adams. It's no longer Mayor's Office of Climate Resilience. It's called the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. Okay.
I saw that David came off mute. David, did you have something to add? It's just, he doesn't.
No.
All right. So I will
That's for me.
continue with our last change to the ENS portion. Okay. And it has to do with this paragraph, number 5, and I'm going to ask Karen to read that, who made that change.
Okay. Put funding for GI, green infrastructure, in citywide sustainability and resiliency programs, including existing underfunded MS4 permit. Said program requires select city agencies to maintain good housekeeping and pollution prevention activities. Sustainable goals include carbon sequestration, lower greenhouse gas, and the urban heat water island effect, as well as quiet the noise from the I-87 and alternate transportation methods.
Methods, you'll add an S, and we can say noise mitigation just to keep the parallelism of those, Karen, if that's okay, as well as
Yeah,
quiet
that's
the noise.
fine.
I can call it noise mitigation. Okay.
You want me to
All right.
change it? I can change
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
I'll change it.
So our feeling was that we won't get this conceptual level, everybody, okay, at the PDC is like it sounds. This is a time to talk about concepts. There likely will not be more broader discussion about especially the environmental impacts. And then this particular level of PDC review. So I'm proposing to build in these talking points that DEP will be able to engage with the community board and other agencies to allow daylighting to reach its fullest potential. Again, further iterations I can expect will be more narrow as you get closer to final. These are things we're proposing that the agencies do together to pool their efforts and try to maximize the impact of daylighting by recognizing it as storm mitigation, a stormwater management on a broader, more intense scale due to climate change, as well as watershed management. So this is the impact of these changes.
I just have one question on my comments here. We
Yeah,
don't want alternate transportation methods. We want non-motorized, what's the wording? Somebody who does bikes, Bob Bender, non-motorized,
Human-powered, non-motorized vehicles.
Chauncey, human-powered.
there we go. Hey, John C. All right. So, Deb, can you see number 7?
Yeah.
Consult with DOT. Is this to your specification? I think we have to add there from I-87, right?
Mhm. Well, into Van Cortlandt Park, and then also I was just thinking from right now there's a 4-foot wall between the existing Deegan and then the the Putnam, and so there's catchments on the Deegan which they're cleaning, right? But do those catchments also run into or where do those catchments go, and can they also go into?
Okay.
So it's a runoff from I-87 into Van Cortlandt Park and into its own and into the Deegan and adjacent to, I guess, the Putnam Greenway.
So how about I make that different or
Mm.
separate? Consult with DEP and existing catchments on upgrading or improving.
What are you trying to say?
Well, you
Deb-
don't know if they have, the capacity will be there in the pipe that they're planning on putting in to handle all the water from the major digging.
Deb, were you saying you want them to upgrade? Are you saying you want them to?
Well, I assume there's
that-
already that those catchments already are their own MS4, right? And so they go someplace. They probably go into the city sewer.
Right.
And so instead of having, and they're right next to, like, there's an irony that the water
on the
that's
Deegan,
falling
yeah.
next to the Deegan goes into the city sewer and the water falling in the park, it can't just simply get over. So even if it's just simply the run of the Deegan from Van Cortlandt Park to 30th Street, that there, even if you made it so that the water could drain under the wall, right, through spaces, so it could get to the the daylighting, just to connect the existing catchments or provide other means to allow the Deegan to drain into to take advantage of the
So that's-
additional
so the
capacity,
problem-
right?
So the problem is that that is a pollutant and they're supposed to be taken care of. I mean, they're supposed to be taking care of it in a certain way. And it wouldn't include blending it in with the other thing unless it was treated in some way prior to that. It should be handled in terms of an MS4.
Okay.
The state of New York is obviously doing with cleaning out these manholes, but
Because you get, it's like the Deegan water in Van Cortlandt Park. I mean, I guess
know.
it's going into the water,
Well,
so
it's true. It's technically
into
treated,
ground.
even though it's not effective. It's technically getting treated by those big gigantic valve things that they have there.
Can we come back to that? I don't want to.
Okay.
So Deb, if you'd like to make I think you're on this. If you'd like to add that, we can come back and consider it.
Okay.
But we can proceed with the park design priorities now. So what I did, everybody, was take a lot of comments from the meeting that we held. Okay. And the first was S-curve, continue the S-curve design that the community board recommended and had implemented within Van Cortlandt Park. Okay, and for a lot of reasons that was for safety and for traffic calming. The second has to do with the appropriate and available traffic calming measures on Greenway and access to pedestrian, to ensure pedestrian safety and shared use. Okay, so those two are similar. How do everybody feel about those?
I don't see any.
You want to keep them in?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're here for, everybody. Knock things out you don't like, keep things in. Then this was really important for a lot of folks, incorporate lockable gates. And I put here for possible closure, okay? We don't know about this. The community board felt they wanted you could have the option of keeping it open all the time, 24/7, or you could close it. But if you don't design it with lockable gates now, you may not ever get them. So what do you feel about this? This should certainly be a discussion. Number 3.
Deb, you had a edit to that one.
No, I just, the earlier, so there were some earlier versions that specifically called out closing the Greenway. But I like this version much better, where it's just simply calling for the lockable gates, which, you may need, you don't know when you're going to need them, but you might. And so it's good to request them, but that we can figure out hours for the Greenway and all of that later on.
Yeah, this is not an
much later.
administrative question, it's a design question, so, yeah. All right. Okay, so number 4 is obvious, rules of park. For those coming on to the Greenway, it is a park. This came through in the comments, remember, consistent DPR design needing for lighting fixtures. So I should stress in and south of the park, right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't think it's called Putnam Greenway South, actually. Did everybody notice that? It's called the Putnam Greenway in the Euler. So I think we have to.
Yep.
Yeah,
That was the convention I think we decided on, was Putnam
Yeah.
Greenway.
The community board calls it that, but CPC calls it the Putnam Greenway.
Didn't we put in someplace about solar? We wanted the lights to be solar.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah. Do you want that would be a separate preference? Do you want to have that? Do you want solar lighting?
It should be a description as part of the same thing. It's solar. The lights should be solar.
Okay.
Solar and downward facing, just to avoid, to reduce light noise or light pollution.
I agree with that. Thanks, Deb, for that.
Say it again.
You can call them
preferably
dark
solar-
sky fixtures.
What's that? Who's that? Who's that?
Dark sky. My name's Leah. I'm new. I'm just in the audience here. I'm a landscape
thanks.
architect in the community. Hello.
Cool.
Hello.
Dark side. What's it called?
Sky.
Dark
Dark
sky.
sky.
Dark sky.
Dark
Sky.
sky features, and with dark sky features. Cool. Okay.
Thank
I
you.
understand. That's very
Thank-
nice. Thank you. It's
Thank you,
nice to
Leah,
have
for that.
Nice to have a ringer in the audience. Great. Thank you, Lee.
Sure thing. Yep.
Okay. Minimize the difference to the sightline. Okay. So this was a nice way of saying, let's talk about fencing. Remember, there's going to be a fence on the dam looking south on the new wetlands feature. Okay. There's going to be benches and there's going to be fences. So I made it very general right now, minimize disturbance to the sight line. But do you want to put in a height? What do you want?
I thought the height was kind of low because you were sitting and it looked like it was like where your eye would be, which would be fine.
But we don't want to look at the fence, right?
Oh, I see.
When you're sitting down,
Okay.
you don't want to have your
Right.
at seat level.
Well, a fence needs to be a certain height to serve a function, right?
We don't know that.
Well, there is already a fence there.
No, there is. It's the dam, Bob, looking south. Is
Yeah,
there a tiny?
and there is a fence on the dam looking south where the benches are, because there's a significant drop off from the top of the dam to the other side of it to the south.
Right.
I don't know what the height of it is right now.
Yeah, me
And
neither.
it's a fence. It's not a it's like it's one of those. I'm trying to remember the terminology for the fences. You can see through it. I mean, it's pretty widely spaced.
Okay.
I think the Parks Department already has something like that. And again, this is entirely within the Parks Department, and you're going to have to go through their own design protocols. We can make clear that we don't want something that's going to block the view. I think
That's what it
that's
says,
the
yeah.
essence of it.
Yeah.
Right.
How about say maintain sight line at the seat level?
Right.
All right. So we're not opposed to the fence. We just don't want it blocking our view when we sit down. So I have here use planks on viewing platforms to match existing boardwalks over tree roots. We can just say in the Putnam Greenway within the park. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, could I just, I'm sorry, the item you were just discussing, the sentence you've ended up with might not be quite what you meant. Maintain sightline at seat level created by proposed fencing. Are you saying
Yep.
the fencing creates a sightline?
No,
Okay, because that's what you had.
maintain sight level, sight line, proposed fencing. Okay. But put a pin in this, everybody. You really have to remember that when you get a preliminary review, you'll have more information about how high that fence is. Okay. Maintain sightline. No, I think I have to repeat my original. Minimize impact on sightline of, yeah, that's what it is, of proposed fencing on the VC and specified materials. Okay, I have to keep my original. The planks, porous asphalt on the Putnam Greenway. We put this throughout, everybody. Does anybody know the difference between porous asphalt and asphalt?
Yeah, they use a little brick that's bigger than when they have regular asphalt. And so it becomes porous.
As long as they, right?
And
they
what's
have to go
the
down the
benefit of
same,
that?
they have to go
What-
down the same amount. It becomes a green infrastructure technology. As long as it's porous, the water will be captured and not run off on the site, on the sides of it. And it will go into the ground.
This is called permeable asphalt.
Right.
It will help the runoff that would otherwise be created by having all this additional pavement where we have green spaces right now. So very important for the overall water retention and stopping the runoff.
Number 9.
Oh, wait, Bob, wait, before you go on to number 9, number 8, I don't know if Stephanie is still on the meeting, but this issue came up on the greenway within the park.
Yep.
And
A little bit.
back then, the concern was that this asphalt actually requires a much higher level of maintenance than the regular asphalt, because if it's not maintained, the reason it's permeable, as I understand it, and if there's somebody who knows better, I hope they'll comment, is that it has holes, for lack of a better term, that allows the permeability of the water. But with vegetation, if it's not properly maintained, as vegetation dies, it fills in those holes and the permeable asphalt becomes impermeable over time. So it requires a higher level of maintenance for it to retain its permeability. That was my understanding when this whole issue came up on the greenway within the park. I don't know if that's entirely correct, but I see Stephanie is on the call and she can comment.
Stephanie?
That is entirely correct. That is entirely correct, Bob. It does take a much higher level of maintenance, and it also it's very, very easy to ruin it and to destroy it because it is permeable and softer. They used it in Central Park and it was completely filled in. What you're talking about they're kind of like pores. So they fill in with grit and with plant matter, and then it becomes impermeable.
So I guess, do we add with proper maintenance?
I think there's no such thing as proper maintenance without budget. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that it starts to slide over into being too aspirational, that it might be better to try to even encourage some other, either, you can certainly do, I mean, I hate to suggest it because I feel like Chauncey or like folks who really are into bicycling, biking, they're going to want true asphalt, but or a true smooth surface, but you can do like broad, like actual intentional, like concrete, like with bigger gaps and stuff. And if you needed to have that kind of permeability, right? Something much more filled in. I mean, I don't, Stephanie, does the parks have actual pathways that are permeable? Like, does it have a different model that it does use when it needs permeability? Or is it really, like, if we really want this to last and be well maintained, it has to be asphalt with just good drainage?
That is what I'm being told. So I have not heard of anything in NYC parks where they're using permeable asphalt.
Well, that's not exactly true. That's not exactly true. There are places that parks use permeable asphalt. And personally, I think that we need to make sure that the Parks Department gets the staffing to do the job the correct way. And
that's great. That's great, Karen. I just don't think that's realistic.
I was told that the Parks Department certifies that they're going to be able to manage this because that's how they have to get it approved by OMB. And so in terms of what we stated at the beginning in the water area concerning MS4, it is the responsibility of whoever's going to take care of this, that they manage it in an adequate amount of time and place and people. And it's better for the environment. It's better for the air. We have a place where people are, very much affected by pollutants that are all over the place. And asphalt is, not great, not the greatest thing to be walking on, but I understand why people want it. And if you're going to do it, it is better to make it porous, permeable is what the word is. Because it
Remember-
is better for us, for our thing. And if the Parks Department, if inside the park you don't want it, inside Van Cortlandt Park you don't want it, then that's fine, because the other part of the trail, we'll just have to make it that way. If no one says you're going to be taking care of this, Stephanie, it's a separate new park.
Well, the question of whether it's a separate new park is.
We're gonna focus on item 8, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And there was discussion, let's focus on May 25th. There was discussion of permeable asphalt. It was not throughout the park or the greenway. It was at places, okay? So our question is, do we want to put a marker down here and say, we believe in permeable asphalt where it can be maintained and implemented? Do you want to make this design preference? Okay, is it a priority? And the parks folks have to really say it is. The environment folks say yes. And then when they hear from you about what you want, that may require some design changes. And then once you get design, then the administration and maintenance will follow separately. But you just have to figure out what you want.
Sorry,
Sorry, go ahead, Deb. Go ahead, Deb. Go ahead.
No, I would start with the kind of where we started on the ENS side, which is that the park can hold its own water. Where that water goes is not so much of a concern, like because it has to also be maintained. So as long as I don't mind if the roadway is asphalt, if it means that it's more resilient and will last longer, because it would be a pity, it'd be just really tragic to put all this work into a greenway that has substantial holes and potholes, or that isn't well maintained, in order to make it more permeable, when it could simply have gotten to that same goal could have been met by just simply having the water run off into its own grass, or its own into the grass, other green spaces, other rain gardens in the greenway. For me, as long as it's a kind of a zero emission situation, I would definitely default to wanting the asphalt to be as low maintenance and resilient as possible, because it's going to be dealing with a lot of water, probably underneath it and around it, and with flooding and stuff seasonally as storms come through.
So Ramdot, you have to poll your members here. This is your item number 8.
Yeah, I agree with that. However, my own concern is maintenance. And we see, at parks committees, we talk about, how parts of parks aren't even maintained properly. And then after a while, because of consistently not being maintained, then it becomes a capital project. And we know parks don't have a capital budget. And then that requires us to then put in like a community board capital request, right? So that's just my concern.
It's a maintenance, it's not a capital.
No, but because it's not being maintained, it then turns into, but Bob and is Rob still here? Thoughts?
Yes. Oh, I think if it's non-permeable, that becomes permeable in a matter of months or even years, I would just start with the non-permeable. Yeah, like Deb said.
So I just want to add that porous pavement is a green infrastructure process, and it is one of the acceptable green infrastructure processes. And it may be that there's so much rain and water that we need that there, because the more straight asphalt you put on, the more water you're going to have to capture on the sides. So you might have more asphalt, but you're not going to have as wide a path, because I'm just making this up, because you have to have a place to hold the water. So it would be better to let it be like as much as possible, as opposed to changing it completely. It is a green infrastructure technique. I'm reading it right now on the DP page. If we had a normal Zoom, I could send it to all of you, but I can assure you that we'll send it in the email.
Bob, any thoughts?
Well,
number 8.
Is this Bob B or Bob F?
Bender. Park, this
okay.
is, for Parks Committee members.
Okay, you know, if it says something like wherever feasible, that, you know, that might satisfy the issue. I mean, the reality is, the maintenance simply isn't there to maintain porous asphalt. It's something we would all love to see, and in an ideal world, this is what we would do, but the reality is otherwise. And, you know, we can put this in, at the present time, it's not truly feasible. You know, we just went through a whole parks budget where the budget was cut, and everybody applauded when it was brought up to the current level, the previous level. And, you know, so now the people who are going to be laid off aren't being laid off. That's a victory in the Parks Department, you know, but you don't get beyond that stage. And that's what permeable asphalt requires, getting beyond that stage with a higher level of maintenance. You know, I'd love to see it, but if it says wherever feasible, I can live with it because, you know, that leaves it quite open-ended.
All right.
Agreed.
So that's going to be foot by foot struggle. And we've been through this before. So that's the new number 8. Okay. Number 9 has to do with going beneath Van Cortlandt Park South underpass. There was a good discussion on some of the special safety concerns, special lighting and cameras working with NYPD. Okay. This was 1% for public art, Bronx-based artist, recycling cans, maintenance access into design. We're not talking about who's going to clean it up right now. We're just saying make sure you plan for excess and maintenance of those cans, and include water fountains and DPR approved bicycle repair station in design of Putnam Greenway, perhaps along access routes, or just leave it like that. This came through loud and clear, water fountains. Now this is, your parks people, this I put in here as a placeholder, shared use throughout Putnam Greenway. Okay, that means that's bike and pedestrian. So, yeah, Bob Bender, you want to say something about width here? And so this is a width question right here. Number 13 is about width.
Yeah, you know, I just want to be sure that it says something to the effect that at all points, it will maintain the minimum required width for a greenway, which is, I believe, 8 feet. It has to, the ideal width is 10 feet, but it has to be at least 8 feet. That's my concern. I just want to make sure that we're very clear that, you know, this has to meet the minimum requirements from the time it leaves the park until the end at 230th Street.
Good one, Bob. Hey, Chauncey, can I call on you for any design specifications about what this minimum is, clarifying that? Everybody, Chauncey Young is the coordinator of the Harlem River Working Group, who has spearheaded a Harlem River Greenway since 2009. Chauncey, do you know this question?
Yeah, I do think the recommendation is 10 feet. But there are sections of greenways across New York City that don't meet that standard, just because of space requirements. So yeah, I think stating that, you know, meeting the minimum greenway requirements wherever possible would be helpful. And not to belabor the last point, but I think the porous pavement came out because this project is being funded by DEP. And so I think that was one of their requirements around.
Oh, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah.
And remember, I said at some points DEP was talking about that. That is part of their long-term control plan. Absolutely. Where feasible, I'm going to say, and where required. Excellent. That's a good one because I remember that, and that is part of their compliance. Excellent. And everybody, Karen added a note about what is a green infrastructure practice. And since the Putnam Greenway south of the park is a green infrastructure, critical green infrastructure project, they will have to comply. And so you may see porous pavement, whether you like it or not, south of the park. Okay, it's really crucial. So I'm adding where required, wherever feasible and where required. That's a good one. All right.
Bob, I'm
Um,
sorry, back to, I mean, yeah, I take a deep breath anytime I'm going to disagree with Chauncey. But on 13, back to
It's all
you know, I respect you, Chauncey. I don't like adding the words wherever possible. I think the point here is that from the beginning, this was supposed to be a park with a greenway, and that's got to be absolutely baseline. That's got to be a requirement. So I don't want wherever possible. It has to happen.
Right.
And there's nothing in the current design that
forbids it, yeah.
that says that it won't happen. So
Right,
you know,
right.
really shouldn't be a contentious issue.
Okay. Number 15 is design a buffer wall separating the Putnam Greenway from I-87 with vegetative cover and sound buffering. Okay, everybody good with that?
We're calling it a baffle wall. I don't know the difference.
I have one change there, Bob.
Yep.
Could we change 15 to 14?
Yes.
Okay, 15 is a typo. It's clarify access from Van Cortlandt Park South. Okay, so there was some discussion about using that overpass for connections within, and it really wasn't sufficiently clear to me. So this is a design priority for them to tell what are they going to be doing at Van Cortlandt Park South. I think this came up from a couple of people. And this was really important to me. There is currently a chain link fence in the Van Cortlandt parking lot. There will now be a viewing platform within the Van Cortlandt parking lot. So they should get rid of the chain link fence that goes from the southern border of the park until the parking lot. And it really has been fencing off the unused portion of the Putnam Trail. And they should put wooden barriers, just like a regular parking lot, to prevent cars from going, down into the ditch there. Is everybody okay with this priority?
I would say that there's more chain link fence than that needs to be removed. So you
Okay.
might want to expand it.
Thanks, Stephanie. Can you give me some ideas? Does it extend beyond the parking lot? Remove all chain link fence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yeah. All chain link fence in Van Cortlandt Park, period. Yeah.
Yes, please.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
No, we'll put that in, especially along the along Van Cortlandt Park parking lot, replacing with wooden barriers. Oh no, replacing chain link fence in VC parking lot with wooden barriers. Okay, because we don't want wooden barriers throughout the park.
Yeah, I think they're called like timber fence. Something like that.
Would it be possible to not specify what the barriers are? I think it's just whatever the Parks Department language is. There are higher end barriers that aren't necessarily wooden. There might be wrought iron. Just to leave that to the designers.
Let me ask the committee, do people want wood? Do you want to specify materials at this point?
Wouldn't want Jersey barriers.
Yeah.
They could easily be putting something unsightly.
Yeah, I mean, the timber barriers they have that they put in, in front of the Forever Wild Parks, like along Palisade, are lovely and nice and prevent the cars from running into them. But I do respect Stephanie wanting to leave it open to the designers, because we can complain about this later.
I say we put down a marker here. We want something pretty. And if they say, no, it's not right, we can say, we can
As
fight
much
about
as
it later.
possible. As much as possible. Just put as much as possible.
Stephanie, is there a term for these barriers that's generic beyond chain link fencing?
I think you can just say attractive barriers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's an improvement.
That's the, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad I put this in, good. But I want wood, and I don't agree with taking out wood, because if you don't ask for it, you don't get it. If you don't say it,
Natural barriers. How about natural barriers?
what's
That's
wrong with
good.
wood?
All right, wood. All right, wood.
If they don't get it, you don't get it, but you have to ask for it. You
Well, then
don't,
you gotta put as much as possible.
you don't get what you don't ask for.
What if we collect all the
If they say no, okay.
plastic bags and we make hard plastic barriers?
I never saw that before.
Recycled product, you know? I mean,
All
this
right.
is not things.
Next committee.
Okay.
Right.
Wooden is recycled product as well.
Yes, that's true. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can fight this out. I mean, one of the fun things that community board committees like to do is fight over materials, and there's going to have a lot of time for this. The fence, the height, all that fun stuff. Okay. Selecting. Okay, now we're into recommendations. So this is kind of like the groundwork, the ground rules for further design. Okay, because we all know this is in a very vague level. They don't have access points. They don't have the property. They don't have property owners to give them easements. So we didn't really want to get into the specifics as of yet, because they don't own the property. Okay, and we can't say we want this because they haven't even spoken to the property owner yet. Okay, that we walked along the walkthrough. So instead, we talked about a principle. Select and design access routes along the CSX right of way to maintain, where feasible or as much as possible, equitable upland access for communities living in neighborhoods east and west of major deep express right. Call I-87. Okay, everybody get the idea there. Yeah. Incorporate access to existing playgrounds and parks along the route of Putnam Greenway within the we don't need that. South of Van Cortlandt Park.
Bob, for number 2, I remember the concern was there wasn't any playground or like recreation incorporated on the Putnam Greenway itself.
That's not what it says. It's along the route. So we're talking along.
Yeah.
There are 2 parks along Bailey. There's Tibbetts Tail
Mm-hmm.
and Anthony. What's it called? I forget. Right across from Port Independence houses. The playground.
Yes.
Bailey.
No.
Bailey, the Grower ball fields.
No,
Yeah.
no. This is a playground.
Yeah, 233rd Street, right. Yes, there is a playground there, right?
Yes,
So
there
it is
is.
and if you don't take this chance to augment access to see the parks, Lori at the playground at the presentation said they want to use this to upgrade access to and create wayfinding from existing playgrounds and parks. They want this. There's a
Mhm.
great opportunity to build a necklace of playgrounds and parks that if you don't get the width and everything you want, like amenities within the park, within the greenway itself, there's a park right next to you to get that stuff. Okay. So you definitely want to build in a symbiotic relationship with your existing parks and playgrounds. You
Right.
definitely. I'm saying
Hello?
as a parker, you definitely want.
Stephanie,
Uh-huh.
was that you?
She's cleared her throat.
Oh, sorry. You're just
Stephanie,
like,
we want to. I guess people want to know if you have an opinion about number 2.
No, look, yeah, I mean, I have an opinion. I think it's a good idea. The access point is 234th Street. That gets you over the Deegan to the Bailey Playground and Tibbetts Tail beyond it.
Mhm.
So it's feasible. You know, there is a way to do this.
Right.
And I think, yeah, I think absolutely trying to link up to the existing playgrounds from this greenway is something that can be done. And it's something that should be incorporated as a recommendation. Yes.
So this is a
Mhm.
once in a lifetime capital project. Once in a lifetime. We'll never see $146 million in our community again. I guarantee it. We have to use every possible lever to build even better amenities around the greenway. And the agencies are eager to do this. This is game changing for them as well. They are hugely excited about this, okay? Throughout the city of New York. First of all, it's the first greenway. I don't think there's a greenway that incorporates DEP practice to this extent. The whole thing is a greenway, number one. Number two, it's built right into a highway corridor. That's an environmental justice area. This has opportunity written all over it. All right, I'm sorry to cheerlead so much, but let me go on. Number three is crucial, everybody. Sean, see, you're on the line. Incorporate access to with DOT. Incorporate access to DOT existing and planned bikeways with the presumption, who used that word, not me, of future connections to parkland and city streets under consideration for the Harlem River Greenway. Okay, so this means integrate the Putnam Greenway so that it can connect to the future Harlem River Greenway. I want to take out some prepositions here. Incorporate access to DOT existing plan for, okay, how about that? For connection. Okay, number three is okay with everybody? Everybody gets this? So if you don't know, this is the tail, basically, of a Bronx-wide greenway that has gone through 2 borough presidents' reports that Community Board 8 was formative on, was far back as 1993 and again in 2007, the Harlem River Greenway. This Putnam Trail is a down payment and a dogleg that will connect to a future Harlem River Greenway. We just have to make the connections. There are segments. This is a crucial segment being constructed right now. All right.
Bob, it's 8:32.
Number 4, design.
Move on.
Design and exit southern terminus. All right. Any other comments?
That was David's thing.
Okay, number 6. This is the Deb Travis honorary access point at Albany Crescent. Study the use of access at the Cantilever Plaza.
Oops.
Okay, so these are the recommendations. Are there any? Let's open it up to any other.
So I think it needs to be explained that recommendations aren't necessarily going to be funded in the $146 million, because then
Absolutely.
we would be up to $246 million. But it would be something that would happen in the future.
Again, if we don't say it now, and if you keep your mouth shut, they'll never hear.
Great.
So also, I made the change further up to the Deegan language. Just to, I added it to 7. You just went past it.
Sorry, Deb.
Nope.
Yep. Right there.
So consult with New York
nice.
State DOT on GI and flood mitigation to regulate stormwater runoff from I-87 into Van Cortlandt Park and along the I-87 corridor adjacent to the Putnam Greenway.
Okay. So everybody, I'm going to make uniform changes. Putnam Greenway South will be Putnam Greenway throughout. Major Deegan Expressway will be I-87.
Also, there's a Putnam South Greenway right there. So
I'll make
it's
those
not just
changes
Putnam
throughout.
Greenway South, it's also Putnam South
Okay.
Greenway.
All right. So there's Putnam Greenway
When
south
you're
of
doing
the
your find
park.
and replace, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'll count on a couple of proofreaders before I hand in tomorrow for exec. Were there any other word changes to this document?
Is there somebody in the public that wishes to talk?
Are there any other comments now on this from anybody?
I
There's
see a hand.
raised.
Yes.
I recognize Rosemary. Go ahead, Rosemary.
I think it is pretty standard that if there's a resolution before a committee, that people in the audience are allowed to speak, right? That's fair.
That's what we're
fair
doing.
statement.
Absolutely.
Okay, there you go. Thank
There's
you,
no
Karen, for
there's-
recognizing them.
I
So,
recognize you as chair, and I saw your hand. It was about to do so. And I said, "Are there
Okie
any other
dokie.
comments?" Nice, Rosemary.
Okay.
All right.
What's your comment?
I think, and at everything you're doing tonight, I really do think that this resolution needs to be laid over. It needs to be laid over. There is there is no reason for this vote at this point in time. We do not own the city doesn't own the property. PDC does not have jurisdiction even to take an application from the city. PDC does not require a community board resolution for a conceptual approval.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, right? I mean, they're very smart. They want it for a preliminary, not a conceptual approval.
Sorry, Rosemary, we're just asking for any inputs on the resolution specifically, not the actual process.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the resolution. I don't think it should go forward. I'm giving you the reasons why. I'm sorry, is that not appropriate? Rhonda, if I'm stepping over the line, please tell me, I will stop.
No, we were just asking for any input or any other recommendations should go into the resolution specifically.
Yeah, okay, again, if you don't want me to speak, I will stop right now.
I know if you have any recommendations or anything that you would like to add into the resolution.
Well, she made a point, and it's certainly going to come up.
It's going to come up in exec, definitely.
Rosemary,
I'm sorry, I don't understand this process. I'm sorry, am I not allowed to speak to the resolution?
Go ahead,
really,
Rosemary.
this is
Sorry.
astonishing. Okay.
Go ahead, Rosemary.
I think the list that you presented is a masterful work. Okay, but I'm going to say with all with no disparaging at all, has nothing to do with the resolution. It's an important piece of work that I think is a very good start at a conversation on these issues. Very good start at conversation, but it has nothing to do with the resolution. Nobody should look at the resolution and then look at the list and say, well, that gives me comfort to approve the resolution. Look to the resolution. And there's only one piece of the resolution, and you've heard it from me before. I believe that the park part of this project has been sidelined, has been pushed to the back of the bus, we are left with the sidewalk, and that is not appropriate. I'm not talking about the daylighting, or not talking about it. I'm talking about what this community is being left with. And I look at the resolution, and the resolution says we support DPR's application to PDC. I don't know how you can sit there and say you support PDC. I shouldn't say that. I cannot vote for something that supports DPR's application to PDC. There's more to be done here. The parks piece of this project has been ignored, has been sidelined. And the list of things that you've done is a great starting point, but it should not lead you to adopting this resolution. It should not be covered to adopting a resolution that approves this. You've heard me before. You know how passionate I am about this issue. I sincerely believe, and Bob, you said you've been working on it sincerely. Everybody's working. So have I. I sincerely believe that this piece of the project, what started, the parks piece of the project, has been ignored, has been sidelined, and I will never support a resolution that says we support the application to PDC from what I have seen. So I'm sorry, Rhonda, that is my statement on the resolution. It's not to add to it, it's not to subtract to it. It is to applaud the list. I think it's great, good starting point, but the resolution itself,
can we move this forward so the committee can vote on this?
Fair.
Because I'm going
No,
I'm not
all
going
right,
to sit here all night and listen to people talking about it. We're not on the committee. We're here to vote on this.
Okay, so Rosemary, thank you.
I'm sorry. When who is leading the meeting?
All right.
Away from me,
I am
not
taking,
somebody else. Not somebody
please
else.
Call to order.
Thank you
for your comment, Rosemary. I think
Thank
it's
you,
really
thank you,
important.
thank you, Bob. Thank
that
you.
Thank you,
Bob.
we
Rosemary.
hear this perspective because we're gonna hear it again. Okay, so
Last
Rosemary,
and
I
I
really,
just, I got my hand raised. I just.
wait a minute, I'm not done yet. Okay, I really appreciate what you're saying, Rosemary. I invite a conversation offline, you and me. We can talk about some of the resolutions that the board has passed that I believe gave approval to a conjoined project, and I'll point you to one that came out of the community board in 2018 when you were chair. We should look over that together. But I want to say that you come as a parks advocate, and I respect your position and respect your right to speak here. So were there any other?
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome. No, I definitely know what you're talking about when you say also conceptual and the kind of conversation that PDC expects and submissions from community boards they get. Okay. So I definitely hear what you're saying there too. All right. Were there further comments? I think Deb, you had a comment.
You know, my only comment is I do think we should vote on the resolution,
Okay.
that we should
All right.
proceed.
So then somebody has to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we vote on this resolution as amended.
Okay.
I second.
All right.
all right.
All those in favor, Ramdot, would you like to take two separate votes from two separate committees?
Yes, we should do it that way.
Okay. All those in favor from the Environment and Sanitation Committee for the resolution as amended? Okay.
Aye.
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 Aye, Rob.
You're under Parks, Rob. Okay. So then we're going to move over to the Parks Committees.
All in favor of the resolution as amended.
Aye.
So Deb.
And I never
Aye
get two
again.
votes. Yeah.
Ramdad, it's David. I just got in, heard most of this. If you don't need my vote, I'd rather abstain so I can get the rest of the details, but I'm generally comfortable with it. So please advise.
Yeah, it passes Parks with your abstention, David.
Okay. All right. I probably will vote for it, you know,
No, you know, thank you for joining from the phone. I know you have a busy, hectic day. So Bob Fanuzzi, it does pass as Parks Committee as well.
Excellent. I believe this concludes our joint committee business at this point.
Bob, can you take this? Yeah, can you unshare your screen?
Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, there you go.
So I just want to, you know, the way we're going to do the rest of the meeting is we're going to break out into two separate rooms. There will be a Parks committee room, and then there will be
we can't do that. I'm on both committees.
Oh, correct.
And you think both committees are like 4 people. So
I know. I know, because it just be so
Oh, can we adjourn? Why don't the ENS committee adjourn? Can we adjourn?
yeah, do we have any new business or old business?
I'm okay. Let me do my job, please. Okay, sorry. Is there any new business for the ENS?
There's 2 hands up, by the way.
Is this pursuant to ENS business, ENS
I
committee
don't
business?
know.
Okay.
I just was going to make an announcement.
Under, would this go under ENS? Yeah, why not?
Yes,
Go ahead,
yes.
Johnson. You're a member, you're speaking now to the ENS committee. Go ahead,
Johnson.
Johnson.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to let folks know, I'm not sure if folks are aware that there's a New York City legislative bill to create a new Greenway master plan. The hearing on that bill is this Tuesday, the 28th at 2 p.m. There's going to be a press conference at 1 p.m. from the New York City Greenway Coalition. And I would recommend folks from this community board and folks who are concerned about the Putnam Greenway and Putnam Trail should participate in both the press conference and testimonies because the Putnam Greenway is not on any Greenway maps in New York City, and it's important to sort of have our greenways on maps. That's
There you go.
all I was going to say. So
Thank
1
you.
o'clock or 2 o'clock, Tuesday, the 28th.
Thank
And Bob or Karen can give you more information. I'll share it with them tonight.
Thank you, Chauncey. Any
And-
other new business, I'm sorry, old business from the environment and sanitation front?
Laura has her hands up. I don't know what she's,
Go ahead, Lord.
Laura?
Okay.
maybe that's from the old time.
All right. Is there any new business?
I
for
was,
Ina?
I was muted. I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Ramdot and Bob Fanuzzi for all the hours and hours and hours of work you've done preparing this resolution. And I'm delighted with the vote. It was careful, thoughtful, thoroughly researched. And it's many, many, many years in the making, more than 20 years in the making. And I just want to congratulate the committees for a job well done. That's it.
Thank you, Laura.
Or-
Yay, everybody. Yay.
Is there any new business for ENS? Okay,
No.
motion to adjourn the ENS committee.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? We're adjourned.
Aye.
Ramdot, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Your-
Bob, and
your
thank you
meeting.
so much to ENS
Thank you.
Good night,
members.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
So for parks, please stay on. As I mentioned,
Sorry
we
for
do
messing
have.
up your plan, Ramdot.
No, it's just that, I know that there was ENS business and then parks business. I didn't want this to go till 11 o'clock. So Bob and I, but then we forgot that you were both on both committees. So, Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, thank you so much for staying on this long. So right now we do have a presentation from Mike and Parks about the Van Cortlandt Park Mansion. Mike, let me know if you're able to share your screen.
Actually, we have Renata Sokolowski, the Bronx Design Director, as well as Doug Nash, Deputy Director, and Samir, the Landscape Architect, who are going to give the design. I am actually unable to share my screen, but I think one of them can.
Okay. I think I switched it to multiple participants can share, so I
Can
think.
you let me share? I can open up.
Samir, I think you should be able to share.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, can you see my screen?
No. All right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
make you co-host. Sorry.
Not yet.
Okay.
Let me make you Samir co-host.
Okay. Can you?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Old technology. Actually, if I email one of you the presentation, maybe you can download and share it, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I have my email open.
Sure. Give me 1 sec.
Ramdot, just as a point of information.
Yeah. Hey,
Ramdot.
Dan. Yes,
Hey,
Dan.
how are you? I don't remember if this was on the agenda or not. What's the presentation for? I heard Van Cortlandt Mansion.
It's go ahead, Mike.
It's the Van Cortlandt House mansion fence.
A fence project.
The fence
Yeah,
project, which was one of our capital.
Priorities. I think this one's been on the priorities for quite some time.
Is this a new design project?
Yes. Ramdot, I actually sent it over to you. I'm not sure if you have it. You have to download the link.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. I think I can. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
Can you maximize it full screen? Yeah, that should be good enough.
All right. I'm going to turn it over. You have to tell me when you want me to switch it.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Samir. I'm landscape architect for Capital Project for New York City Parks. And tonight I'm presenting this Van Cortlandt Park House Museum. And this Van Cortlandt House Museum located on Broadway near Manhattan College in the borough of the Bronx. And budget is about 2.7 million for reconstruction of 1,300 linear feet of fence. This is a fence restoration project, the fence surrounding the Van Cortlandt Park mansion. The fence is not original to the site and was moved here from a park in Manhattan, which is about 70 years ago, And this fence got several layers of peeling and flecking of lead paint, and that's what we're going to review tonight. Next, please. The goal is to restore existing fence and do soil remediation and lead abatement. Next, please. I know we all are kind of late, so I will try to browse it through as quickly as possible. This site is located in the Van Cortlandt Park in the Fieldstone section of the Bronx. Next slide, please. This is outside of the flood zone. We talked quite a bit about the flood, so this is relief that it's outside of the flood limit. Next slide, please. This is also outside of extreme flood limit, which is called 100 years floodplain. So we are safe from flood point of view. Next slide, please. This is surrounding land use. This site is surrounded by educational and some commercial land uses, as you can see. Next slide, please. There is only another park called Burst Park, which is about 10 minutes walk from this side, and there is no other park of that magnitude we are dealing today. Next, please.
This one, right? Sorry.
Yeah, that's the one. The surrounding area of Van Cortlandt Park has parade ground, comfort station, short walk to the Broadway. That's pretty much is happening surrounding to this section of the Van Cortlandt Park. Next slide, please. Existing condition. The existing wrought iron fence surrounds the Van Cortlandt Park mansion. There are 3 gates, 2 in the north and 1 in the south, and they all are connected through a gravel path at the periphery. Next slide, please. This 1,300 linear feet of fence has many layers of lead paint and flecking and peeling off. Those things we can see in the subsequent slides for a better understanding of the current condition. Next slide, please. Tree inventory. We did some tree inventory before we looking into the site. We found only there are like 3 trees. They're in poor condition, so we need to replace them. Yeah, I mean remove them, but we are not replacing or moving any trees because of the design work as such. Next slide, please. Since we are not putting any new impervious pavement or anything of that nature, so we don't need a DEP connections typically called for. Next slide, please. These are the photos. Photo in the left, which shows is a pathway off the Broadway. And the right is the mansion, which is a landmark, but not the site is a landmark site. Next slide, please. The fence surrounding the mansion is in overall okay shape. With specific sections, there are some poor fences, so we are going to look at them. Next slide, please. These are some additional photos where each basically connect to the surrounding, to the Broadway, and also a context to the building itself. And there are some, historic relics on the right, which are historically important to preserve. Next slide, please. All paint on the fence has been confirmed to be lead paint. The fence on the left as well as right, these are samples were tested, and we found the presence of lead, in most of the sections. Next slide, please. These are additional picture showing the current condition of the fence. They're all solid wrought iron fence, so they're structurally fairly strong. So we are trying to reuse them as needed. Next slide, please. These are some of the poor condition fence. This is basically a close-up of existing fence showing lots of lead paint been peeling off. Next slide, please. Some more picture just to give an idea what kind of erosion is taking place, especially damaging the parts of the fence, the finale, and the top rail, bottom rail, etc. Next slide, please. These are kind of typical fair condition fence. That's why many of the fence will be preserved, or I would say reconstructed. Next slide, please. This is the typical good condition fence. Most of the fence are in this kind of shape. So next slide, please. So these are the elevation, is a typical elevation of existing fence, just to get a better idea. Once we reconstruct everything, which are kind of, very artistic in nature, so it's going to be preserved as is when we rebuild a new fence in some section. Next slide, please. So this is basically the fence diagram, which we call a schematic design. So all fence posts will be remediated in place of a lead paint, and all fence posts will be remediated and repainted offsite. Orange dash line is where the fence post will be refurbished on the side, and the fence panel will be refurbished offsite. Pink line area is where the fence will be replaced due to poor conditions. The blue line area's fence will have new concrete curb and footing. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Deb and then Bob.
What is the approximate time frame for the work itself? And will there be any paths or closings of any of the paths around the mansion? And will the mansion, I guess, be open as well?
The construction time would be about 1 year. And for that 1 year, we will have construction fence surrounding the whole place for the safety of the project, as well as the people and also the properties inside. So that's pretty standard procedure we follow.
but the mention will be open. I'm sorry, this is Renata from Parks. So mention definitely will be open. We will maintain the separate pathway surrounded by the construction fence. So if there is no construction going on inside the mention, then this will be accessible to the public. So we just like to make sure that everything else is protected, and maybe we will work with the Historic House Trust and Van Cortlandt Park Alliance when the construction gate, can be closed, and then the entire area will be closed after hours.
And then just as a follow-up question, would it impact any of the programming that's outside, of the mansion or the nature center?
I would like to say I don't believe so. However, we are working very closely with Historic House Trust and Van Cortlandt Park Alliance. So we will make sure that we will stage everything in a way that it will not prohibit any of the public programs going on around this area.
All right. Bob Bender.
Yeah, thank you, Ramdot, and thank you, Samir, for the presentation. Just to follow up, I want to be clear, the fence on the north side of the mansion abuts a pathway that's heavily used at the south end of the parade grounds.
Mm-hmm.
Will that pathway be open during the construction?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think that we will work it out. So most of the dismantling of the fence and carrying the individual panels outside of the site and delivering them to the manufacturer's shop in order to be remediated and to repainted and cleared and so on will be done from the inside. Just so we will not encroach on the path, because yes, we saw that there were a lot of people that actually traveled, on that northern path. So again, we will work with the, host of the mansion just to see how much space we can actually take on the inside. We would like to protect all the monuments. So we will be working with our antiquities department, because they also have their standards on the protecting of the monuments. So we just want to make sure that everything is, sort of wrapped up, and we will do as much work from the inside as possible.
David.
Thank you. Just
sorry,
have
Dave.
a couple more questions, Ramdot, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Is
Sorry.
this project fully funded?
Yes,
Yes,
as of
it is.
now, is fully funded. We are going through some deliberation on how to remediate the existing soil that is contaminated by the flaking paint that contains the lead. But as of now, we did the preliminary testing and we got preliminary results, not the full report yet, but it doesn't look so bad. So if we don't find anything worse than we have found so far, yes, we consider this project fully funded.
And last question, what is your intended start date?
On construction?
Well, on any of the work, whatever the first phase of the work is.
So currently we are in design for about 6 months. So I believe this is scheduled for transmittal in December, Samir, or January, in the winter. And then we expect to be about 10 months to 12 months in procurement. So construction probably will start in spring of 2024, and it will last for a year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks. David.
Yes, thank you. I think I saw in the first slide that the key sponsor was Kevin Riley. I don't know who exactly he is, but thank you to him. Anyway, I'm sorry if I missed this earlier. What exactly is going to be your arrangement for protecting the fence? But moreover, is it like opaque plywood panels, or is it going to be chain link? And point being, will people be able to see the mansion from the walkway?
Yes, so
Beautiful building, of course.
Of course. So the wood plank fence is usually required by DOB, Department of Buildings, when there is, you know, sort of a structure, you know, to be constructed. In this case, we won't do that. We won't use it. We will use our regular construction fence that would protect the area from the outside, and if necessary, in some places, especially where you have public access, you know, on the inside along the pathway. So it's a chain link fence without the bottom and top rail, so it will be very see-through, should I say.
Okay. But it will be, I hope it'll be a little bit more secure because I'd hate to see, you know, if it doesn't have top rails, bottom rails, it might be breachable.
Right.
And I'd hate to see any damage to this wonderful building.
Sure, we will work on that. Maybe we will have a movable fence, which actually has the full panels that are interlocked together and secured in place. And, you know, maybe this would actually work better than our regular driven in post into the soil, you know, fence. So I think you're correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, I'm sorry. Can I just interject 1 second? Thank you very much, David. I did a review this presentation earlier today, and I totally mixed up. I missed the first slide, and it should be a council member Dinowitz who did that. So thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, well, you can thank Kevin Riley anyhow, I guess.
Kevin Riley.
Thanks for the clarification. That helps. We're losing you, Mike.
Mike, yeah, you're breaking up.
Sorry, I just said Kevin Riley is great, but credit should be given where credit is due.
Yeah, perfect. Rob, any questions about the project before I call on Dan?
No, I'm happy to see that they're doing this. This is really unexpected and very welcome.
Yeah. I do have a question. Sorry, Dan. You did talk
Okay.
about the project was fully funded, but there's remediation of the soil needed to be done. So is that an extra cost, or is that already factored into the actual cost of the entire project?
That is already integrated into the existing budget. So far,
Okay.
when we did the preliminary calculations, we are still within the budget. If you know, something else would have to happen of a bigger magnitude, we definitely will, you know, talk about it internally within the Parks Department.
Thank you so much. Hey, Dan, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Ramdat. How are you? So just a few quick questions. Is this subject to landmarks or PDC review? Like, is Parks here for any type of approval or I guess comment?
So it's subject to PDC review, not landmarks. Landmarks is just internal of the mansion.
Gotcha. So for PDC, you guys, is this a conceptual preliminary? We had a great discussion about that earlier.
Yeah, we'll be submitting it for preliminary.
Excellent. Gotcha. So you guys do need something from the committee.
Yes.
And I guess just two, you know, real, I guess, substantive questions. What kind of paint is going to be on here? Is this going to be lead paint that you guys are putting back in a black color?
Yes. So our painting system usually consists of several layers. So after the fence is all cleaned and, you know, prepped, then we are doing you know, the first layer that actually protects the fence, you know, from any rust. And then we have a consecutive 2 layers of the black paint.
Excellent. And just my only question is, how do you clean it? Is this a sandblasting type thing?
This will not be cleaned at the site because of the lead contamination. So the plan is to actually disassemble this fence and remove the individual panels. And these would be tracked off to the fence manufacturer. And they will be responsible for containing, you know, all that contamination, you know, as per, you know, the regulations. And they will be removing all that fence, whether they're going to use the chemical method of the or the mechanical method. I am not sure. I think this is something that they would have to determine. So once we talk to them and figure out what the specifications for that will be, that's what will be included in the contract.
So I guess this, really brings back to David's question about, what the temporary fencing is going to look like, because you don't really need to, I guess, protect anything if the fence isn't going to even be there. You're taking it off site.
Well, the existing posts will actually remain in place. And those probably will be remediated, the paint would be remediated on site, but that should be contaminated.
Okay,
I mean, sorry, contained, not contaminated.
Gotcha. So how do you guys remediate the posts that will be there?
We
like
have chemicals, as per the spec.
Just kind of chemicals spray on and scrape off?
So we have an environmental remediation unit with parks. It's a small division, and we follow their specifications for the work. And it depends on the volume. I asked that question and they answered it by, it depends on the volume of the lead paint peeling off as to how it is to be contained. Either way, it's being thoroughly contained as per the regulations.
Gotcha. I was just wondering what the process would be, just so we know it was there. And I'm glad that you're doing most of it off-site. I think that's even better. Thank you.
David.
Yes, Ms. Sokolowski, did I misunderstand you? Did you say that you're taking the fence sections and remediating them off-site? And then you're going to paint them with lead paint?
No. Of course not. No. We will be painting that with the 3 different layers of paint. One is just the base paint, which sometimes you could see it's sort of like an orange, in color. And then the 2 layers of the black paint, not lead paint. Black
Okay, I could have sworn I heard you say lead twice.
Just
I was puzzled.
Just David, I heard the same thing. Just point of information. Is this a water-based paint? Is this
it's got to be
oil-based paint?
No, I think it's oil-based.
This will be oil-based paint, and there is no lead to the paint because since 1975 there is no lead in the paint. There's no lead in the any paint.
Dan, thanks for confirming my ears.
Thank you.
All right, David. That's it, right? Any more questions? Okay, perfect. Rosemary.
Thank you, Rhonda. I'm very interested in the rest of the wrought iron fences throughout Community Board 8. Not that there are many, I wish there were more actually, but if one would it help to not reach the point of the Van Cortlandt Park Mansion if you begin to see rust to paint them up? I mean, what is the Parks Department's view of looking at the wrought iron fences and the rest of the parks in our community district? Is there something, is there a process, is there a procedure to keep them intact before we reach the state that they are at the Van Cortlandt Mansion? Does my question make sense? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Hey, Rosemary, I think I can answer that question. The reason why the Van Cortlandt Mansion fence actually got to the point that it did is because it was lead paint. So we couldn't continue to paint it and, strip away, chip away the paint and then, reapply paint to it because it became unsafe if we did that. That's why the fence was in its condition. Most of I don't know that there's other lead paint wrought iron fences in the district. I think this is the only one that I know. I could be very wrong. But otherwise, we always do welcome volunteer projects. Painting fences is really something that, well-organized volunteers do for us all the time. And, Joe is a fantastic manager. He works great with volunteer groups all the time. So that's always a great volunteer project if people are interested.
But Mike, it's a worthy endeavor to find out whether it is lead paint or not. No, is it not? We see, well, okay, let me put this. I have seen wrought iron fences around parks in our community board that are beginning to rust. And I look at it as a neophyte and say, oh God, somebody should paint these. I'm not sure that's the right answer, right? Somebody should paint them. Maybe there's another answer. Maybe if it's lead paint, painting them doesn't work. I think that's what I'm asking is.
Yeah, no, we can definitely take a look and paint them. If you know of some locations, just let us know. We can do some painting in-house as well. I'm pretty sure that the only one in the district, and maybe that's the only lead-based painted wrought iron fence that I think I know of. And, you know, I don't think we have any others. I could be very wrong. But to my knowledge, this is the only one. It's obviously something that we would love to remediate because, you know, of all the issues with lead-based paint. But if it's not a lead-based paint, we can definitely paint, you know, unless unfortunately the fence is so far gone, which can happen with rust, that, you know, it would require a reconstruction. But
I think that's my point. If it's not lead-based paint, then painting it would be a good thing, right? That would be a good thing. Okay. So that's thank you. Thank you.
Rosemary, was there a wrought iron fence other than this one that you saw on the?
Yeah, I don't want to pinpoint a certain park. There, Ramdot, you were chair of parks. You know where the parks are. You know where the wrought iron fences are. Some are in good shape and some are not in good shape. So, but the issue goes more to lead. Now I understand lead-based paint would bring up one solution, not lead-based paint brings up another solution. So thank you, Mike, for answering my question.
Thanks, Rosemary, for the question. Are there any other questions for Parks about the mansion? I mean the fence, sorry, the wrought iron fence. All right, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Samir, Doug, and Renata.
Thank you, everyone.
Can we expect the letter of support?
Right. I don't see why not, because it was a capital project. Deb, David, Bob, input.
You want to do it as a resolution or?
Yeah, we'll have to do it as a resolution and bring it up to exec is next Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be as simple as whereas on June 22nd, the Parks Department presented this plan and therefore be it resolved.
Yeah. Executive tomorrow, but full board is next.
Yeah, right.
It's the full board that's the real issue. Yeah, as long as we have it ready for the full board. I mean, we can bring it up tomorrow at exec conceptually, but you know, we want to have the language in place before the full board meeting.
Yes.
And I mean, this is pretty standard. We've done this sort of thing before. As you said, Deb, it's you know, whereas they presented this to us tonight, and we discussed it and we voted on it.
Bob, can you think of a sample that you might be able to give to Ramdot so he could cut and paste?
Yeah, I mean, I could put the whole thing together in 10 minutes tomorrow morning. The one thing I want to be sure about is that we get a copy of this presentation so that
I have it.
Okay, good.
I will send. Yeah, I'll send it to us. Yeah. Because I have it now. I downloaded it. So I'll send it around to us.
Can you guys allow us to change the council member's name?
Exactly. I was trying to do that.
So, Mike, can you change the council member's name and send it back to me?
Yes, we will do that first thing in the morning. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had the same question. I was like, why is Council Member Riley on there? He's like on the East Bronx.
Well, hell, do you know where we got the Putnam Greenway from? Anthony Weiner, 15 years ago.
Actually, it was Elliot Engel. It was Elliot Engel.
Anthony's name was on it originally.
Yeah, well, I know that it was funding from Engel. It was an earmark that goes way back.
Right.
So have we actually taken the vote, Ramdot?
Do we have anything? Is it really is a straight up? We'll just approve the plan. No modifications or anything, right?
Yeah, just simply approving, passing a resolution to approve the plan itself. Or
I'll
motion.
I make a motion to approve to vote on the
Second.
resolution. Yeah.
And David second. All in favor, committee members?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Good, excellent. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And we will get you the letter of support as soon as it passes the full board meeting,
Okay,
which
great.
is slated for the end of this month.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank
good
you all
night.
so much for the amazing presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice one,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
evening.
Bye.
Any other new business in terms of parks? Mr. Rosenblum, I'm gonna call on you for old business, okay? Any new business? All right, perfect. Mr. Rosenblum, old business.
Yes, good evening. By the way, just kudos on the way these meetings are presented and the work that goes into it. Many years ago, I was a member of Community Board 17 in Brooklyn. And I've only been in this my second meeting and I've yet to see a fist fight. So congratulations. Very seriously, very good, well prepared. Anyways, since the May 25th meeting, which I attended, a couple of things has happened. New York Times did a full-page article on the surging sport pickleball, and it raised some more interest. Just for your information, obviously I have roots in Brooklyn. Brooklyn Bridge, the Parks Department, they just opened a 4 pickleball courts, specially built at Brooklyn Bridge Park. They're beautifully done with roofs and things like that. We're not asking for that, but it's certainly warranted. I've gotten several communications. I've gotten a lot of communications, but several from people that think that our aim is to knock down tennis courts. All of them or most of them. That's not true. This is a new endeavor, and we're just aiming at working at one tennis court. So I have made it my business to continue to walk around when I'm walking my dog. I'm not necessarily here on weekends, but I've only seen the tennis courts full once in all the days that I've walked it, and that was on a Friday evening. Usually there's a few courts in use in the morning and a few in the evening. So it's not like we're going to be pushing out people. Just to finish up, I was hoping that when you do a walk through the park, that I was on the impression that I would be asked to come along on behalf of my committee, because you have different remedies, and I'm not going to go into great detail of them now. I'll explain it to you. You can do a temporary court, you can do 2 temporary courts. All of them have issues. So hopefully I'll be invited along. Also, again, I urge you, I don't know if you had a chance to familiarize yourself a little more with pickleball. I urge you to, very simple, usapickleball.org. And it'll tell you about dimensions and how big it is out west and how big it is in Florida. So anyways, that's basically my my report, and hopefully I'll be asked along and fill you in. I am not an expert on this, but I have done my due diligence. I'm a retired attorney, and if it's one thing I learned in order not to get your ass kicked, do your due diligence and prepare. So, yeah.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
that's it.
Rosen. Thank you so much, Mr. Rosenblum. We are, Mike and I and Parks are actually trying to schedule a walkthrough, Mike, at the end of this month, right? It was that Wednesday?
I'm still trying to make next Wednesday work. Joe reminded me that I would have to go out there and take a look at it with our supervisor of mechanics to make sure that it's feasible for him to do it in-house and do some of that work and just take a look at it so I can come prepared for the meeting, and then we have all the details of what we can actually do.
Yeah, so just if as soon as you can get me confirmation of that, I have a time and so on and so forth, that way I can send it to Mr. Rosenblum and also make sure our committee members and our community board members are aware of it as well, so they can join.
Sure.
I would like make sure they're involved as well.
I just have to say that the gentleman, our supervisor of mechanics, he's a little busy prepping pools, so it may have to push it out a couple more days.
Okay. Rosemary, sorry. Rosemary, I'm mute. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Rosenblum, your spirit for pickleball is to be admired. And I think at the end of the day, it will be the Parks Department that has to make a decision how to allocate their resources and understand that. I just want to make one statement. Many times it's been said that the courts are not filled. They're not filled. They're not filled. And just want to get, once again, anecdotally, not on weekends they're filled, okay? But anecdotally, I've been there Mondays, Wednesdays, I can give you the dates, 100% filled. Okay, again, I'm not saying that to say that pickleball should not have some of the lot. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is the statement that they're empty, they're not filled, is in my view, in my experience, a slight overstatement. So I think we should leave all of this. Pickleball is great. It should be forwarded, but it should be left to the Parks Department to decide how they're going to allocate the courts. I hope. Okay.
I actually kept the log.
I think you understand what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Well, I actually kept the log, and for whatever.
Well, good. So we don't want to get into we kept the log. It's just
yeah, we don't need a back and forth.
I didn't say they're empty, and
I'm just saying, leave it to the Parks Department to figure out. Okay, right?
Sure.
All right. Thanks, Rosemary. Mr. Rosenblum, any other final thoughts? As soon as I get the schedule, I will send it out to you, as well as all the committee members and CB8 members as well. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other old business from committee members? All right. Is there a motion on the floor then?
I move to adjourn.
Amazing. Second, anyone?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Great. This meeting has now adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thank
for
you,
everything.
Ramdot.
Yeah, thank you, Ramdot, for all your hard work this year.
Thank you.
I will be miss you all as chair. I would say it was a pleasure to work with you all throughout this interim situation. All right. Good night, everyone. And I will see you all, some of you all tomorrow, actually, for exact.
Good night.
Good night.